does World Tour mode teach you how to play Street Fighter 6? And the answer is, it's complicated. In a way, yes. It's going to teach you about the different controls, especially using modern. Obviously, I'm not a fan of modern. I'm an old school player, Street Fighter 2. I play with 6-button controls, and I don't like the 1-button special moves because I'm used to my Dragon Punch and my Fireball and all that stuff. But for someone who's coming into it fresh, to teach them how do you use modern controls, how do you fight, how do you combo with modern controls, those types of things, yes, it will teach you that kind of stuff. It won't really teach you how to be competitive. That will be more for the combo training, the different training modes, like the dummy training with whiff punishing and all that kind of stuff gets a little more complicated. World Tour mode doesn't really get into that. It does give you different opportunities with the goals for each of the different battles. So as you're going through World Tour mode, you will interact with many different characters, many of which are not major characters. They're little side characters, sometimes with boxes on their heads, sometimes they're random people on the street, but they'll be out there and they'll have different goals that if you complete, then you get a special prize. So maybe it's a dye to change the color of your clothing for your avatar. Maybe it's a new piece of equipment. Maybe it's a quest item. If you hit the menu button, it will show you a quick list. You'll be able to pick out what you have to actually do to achieve in that battle in order to win that prize. And it's a good way of doing things. I'll give you an example where an enemy will be throwing projectiles at you and it says cancel out X number of projectiles. You could do that with your own projectile, or it may say hit this enemy with a drive impact, or it will say hit this enemy with the drive reversal. So it gets you to kind of practice in the middle of a battle. How do you do those different things? Now, World Tour mode itself is very fun. I definitely recommend it, especially if you're into the lore of Street Fighter or just sort of the history of the characters and that type of thing, because it's taking all these old school world warriors and placing them into a modern world, and they have to kind of adapt. One of the best, in my opinion, is Ryu, my favorite character, because he's not really about the modern world, but he has to learn to adapt and to use a cell phone and text and all this stuff, and the interactions are pretty humorous to say the least. But they do it for all the characters, so it humanizes them, it kind of gives them a little side element to it. There's a lot of lore from prior games and from prior stories that actually makes its way into World Tour mode as you build your relationship with these different fighters. So it really rewards the player that's into the world of Street Fighter, that has been playing through the series and enjoys it. It also has quite a bit to offer in itself, meaning it has the main two areas, which is the Metro City that you start in, but then it also goes to another area later on, and then it's between the daytime and the nighttime of each of them. The other characters basically have individual levels, which are like a one screen area. There's not a whole lot to them, and you can interact with them, you can train with them, they become your master, that kind of thing. And those are smaller things. But the two main areas do have quite a bit to offer. They have plenty of quest side jobs to try and raise money. While it can be kind of repetitive, it is definitely fun. There are moments which are really cool, especially when you're meeting your masters and you're having these interactions with them, and the cutscenes are awesome. The main story of World Tour mode is entertaining in itself. It does kind of keep your attention. Sometimes you can kind of be like, well, how does this tie into what I'm actually doing, and trying to find Bosch, who's the other character who's like your rival in the game. And it kind of loops around. It has a twist that's somewhat predictable, but overall I'd say it's a fun enough story. It's not going to win any kind of awards for storytelling. It does take you through the world of Street Fighter. It finds its way to introduce you to different world warriors and to get into the story and kind of understand what's going on. My biggest complaint about World Tour mode is that the fighting in World Tour mode just does not translate to the main battles when you go online, and not in that it doesn't set up the battles the same way. I mean, you know, it's one-on-one, and sometimes there'll be multiple enemies against you, but you have the tools necessary to kind of crowd control, pick them out one at a time, that kind of stuff. That's not really what I'm talking about. But when it gets to certain boss characters, they have moves that don't abide by the rules of Street Fighter, like you can't parry certain moves or you can't counter certain moves, and you just kind of end up running away and kind of jumping from them. They have tons and tons of health. They're huge. In a shooter game, they're called bullet sponges. They take damage like no one's business, so they do bulk them up. They don't want you to tear through it terribly easily. But I do wish that they increase the difficulty of the enemy more so than the health bar of the enemy or the unfairness of the enemy, meaning you can't parry, you can't drive impact certain moves, because that just kind of takes away from it. It's trying to sort of teach you how to do things, but then again, it breaks those rules, throws them away when it feels like it. I'm not a big fan of that. So if you're trying to learn the basics, will you get that from World Tour mode, especially if you're using modern controls? Yes, you will. Will you be exposed to the different elements of fighting? Yes, you will. Will you be prepared to go online into versus battles, even casuals or ranked battles? No, not really. I mean, I guess you're sort of prepared for avatar battles because you're building up your avatar and you're learning what they do and you're putting together your style and figuring out what you want to do with your special moves and your combos, etc. But the avatar battles are kind of its own freak show in itself. It's just not going to translate very well to actual Street Fighter 6 competitive play. So that's going to do it for today's video. Let me know what you thought of World Tour mode, and did it prepare you for Street Fighter 6, or like me, did you think that it was just one more thing, kind of cool, kind of fun, but don't look to it for your ranked training. We're going to continue on with our Street Fighter 6 Challenge series. I hope you have enjoyed the series thus far. I'm definitely enjoying playing the game. But until next time, this is Pirates for Pirates Gaming saying thank you for watching, and I will see you there.